Newton News is brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank. This week on Newton News, hear about how eating pork may be the worst thing for you. Two of NewTV's interns are premiering their short documentary, The International Dream. And help raise funds for the Newton Free Library by eating at the Union Street restaurant. Welcome to Newton News for Wednesday, June 26, 2019. I'm Jen Adams. The Union Street restaurant is holding a fundraiser for the Newton Free Library from July 1st through July 5th, including July 4th. Bring in this coupon to enable the restaurant to donate 20% of each meal, including alcohol. Coupons can be picked up at the library, the senior center, and Village Bank, and also downloaded from the library's website. Autoimmunity is on the rise around the globe, with it affecting an estimated 50 million Americans. And diet has been proposed as the risk factor, but has been largely unstudied until now. Joining me in the studio to discuss their investigation between diet and autoimmune disorders are Iosif Gerstein, a systems immunologist at Ajax Biomedical Foundation, and Dr. Leonardo Ferrara, a molecular immunologist and human genome engineer at the Department of Surgery at University of California, San Francisco. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is a very interesting topic, and one that, as I stated, hasn't been studied that much. So why did you decide to do this study?
Well, we decided to do this study because we really wanted to systematically interrogate the relationship between diet and autoimmunity. And as autoimmunity is on the rise with over 50 million cases in America, we thought that looking into the specific foods that can perhaps cause autoimmunity or cause a flare-up of symptoms would be a very, very much a value-add product for these patients.
And it really is the diet that you found. So how does a diet help or hurt one's molecular setup for an autoimmune disorder?
Well, this is a very interesting question. So autoimmune disease, it's the body at war with itself.
Right.
It's when your immune system somehow escaped proper schooling, and you have some T cells, which are killing immune cells, that recognize and kill your own tissues. For example, in type 1 diabetes, they'll recognize and destroy your pancreatic beta cells that make insulin. And so this system happens, the immune system sees our cells based on these IDs called epitopes. Epitopes are sequences of proteins that are inside your cells, and they are presented on the surface of the cells. And so the immune system patrols your body. It will recognize and scan those IDs. And if something is wrong, for example, if this epitope is derived from a virus or from a cancer cell, it will be killed. And in this case, the immune system sees your own epitope as something bad.
Right.
And so food also has proteins, and so these proteins will get processed by your body and become also epitopes, which in certain cases can be presented in an inflammatory context. For example, it depends on your diet. If you have a high-fat diet, high-sugar diet, processed foods, this could lead to food being presented to your immune system as something dangerous, something inflammatory.
And then your body will start attacking that or itself.
Correct.
In that regard. So what were you looking for, I guess, in foods that we eat, I guess, every day? What kind of foods were you looking for?
Well, we started out with a sample of 14 commonly consumed plants and animals. And what we did is we looked at the components of the protein. So the protein can be divided into peptides, and peptides further divided into epitopes. And so we looked at about 18,000 autoimmune-associated peptides, human autoimmune-associated peptides, and looked for overlap between those epitopes and the epitopes present in these 14 organisms. So we looked at pork, beef, lamb, as well as rice, quinoa, just a wide variety. And we were looking for outliers. We were looking for finding out, A, for which diseases, which animals contain more overlap, and also we were looking for unique overlaps.
So what was the process in order to find those unique overlaps? What process did you use to find those?
Well, so we started by really taking these 18,000 protein epitopes that have been previously implicated in autoimmune disease, and then we lined those up with the complete protein sequences of these 14 organisms. So pig, duck, quinoa, rice, etc.
Right.
And so we mapped those and we built this massive database where you can now go and like cross-check each of these epitopes in animals in each specific human autoimmune disease. It looked at over 70 of those.
And you came up with, so what was your conclusion, like at the end of all of these different?
Well, what we did is we created indices. We created the GF index, which
you've named after yourself.
Yes.
Gersten-Ferrer
index. And what we did is we created graphs that would show which diseases have which overlaps per animal. So you can visually see which, per disease, where there is the most overlap, where is the highest risk, potentially, according to theory. And then we created one further layer, which is unique GF index, which finds which animals have most unique associations with that disease. And there we had one massive outlier, which was the pig. So the pig has roughly 700 unique epitopes that are associated with autoimmune disease. It maxed out our scale.
Do you happen to know why the pig was the one? Is it because it just eats anything? Do you have any idea as to how that came about, pig being the #1 cause?
It's a very good question. I guess one could say like genetic similarity definitely plays a role. So a pig is much closer to us than rice would be. And so this index for a pig is much higher than it would be for rice. But it's more than that. Like, you could not predict, because as I also just said, there's like unique epitopes. So if you look at like total epitopes in like pig or beef, they're similar. But if you look at unique epitopes, there's almost 1,000 of those that are only found in the pig and nowhere else. At least in the 14, actually now 25 different food sources that we've looked at as of today.
And it's because it's very similar.
Well, we don't know why.
Right.
The tissues have more epitope level similarity than could be just predicted by genetic similarity.
But this study that you've done will now help further studies. So is that on the agenda, not necessarily from you, but in the future for other studies to happen to take a closer look at the pig perhaps, or other factors that may cause an autoimmune disorder?
Absolutely. So the first thing we're doing is we're extending the database. So right now we're up to about 25 animals.
Okay.
Additionally, we are trying to communicate with other researchers and share the epitope level data on the published GF index. And where this could lead is hopefully much better, more integrated dietary recommendations for autoimmune sufferers.
And that's the bottom goal, or I guess I should say the main goal is to get people to avoid having an autoimmune disorder, because as you say, it attacks. Your body's attacking itself at that point.
Correct. There's been many books written about this, and we hope that we bring like added value, because of a systematic analysis of this problem, and it's an immune problem, so use immunology to understand this problem. And so actually our first paper got published this month. It's Journal of Autoimmune, of Translational Immunity. It's available online, open access. If you just Google immunodiatica, we're the first and only result on Google, and so you'll find our finalized first paper.
And that's where you can find all of the information that more than we've just discussed today, in more detail. We can find out more from the immunodiatica. I'm sorry, I can't really say that word.
Immunodiatica.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
so more people can find it that way. Well, thank you very much for sharing this study. It's very interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having
Thank you.
us.
And Newt News will be right back.
Dinner at my house. Delicious jarred sauce. Time to recycle. Bam.
Oh no, Dana!
Where'd you come from?
I'm your recycling person. Oh gosh, it's gotta be clean.
What?
You can't recycle. Oh no, Dana! You're putting it all in a plastic bag. Yes, clean cardboard. Oh, look at you've got all this squishy plastic. You know what it does?
What?
It jams up all the machines.
How about this stuff?
Can't go in your recycling. This you can take back to your grocery store, but not in your green cart.
How about what I put the recyclables in?
Absolutely not. No plastic bags. Yes,
Something
that's
like
the way
that?
to do that. Clean it and don't do the plastic bags. Thanks, everybody.
Two of NewTV's co-op students from Northeastern University, Sophia Chanka and Bryce Dearden, are wrapping up their 6-month stint by showcasing their documentary, The International Dream. Welcome to you both. It's so good to have you here, even though it's your last week. But tell us a little bit about this very interesting documentary that you put together.
So we're both college students, and one thing you learn very quickly in college is that college is very hard. And basically, we looked at it as, it's going to be even harder if you're thousands and thousands of miles from your family and your friends and where you grew up, and it's a different language, different culture, all these different things. So we really wanted to look at what these students see in studying the U.S. and studying at Northeastern that to them makes it worth it, and what they're willing to sort of put up with in the process to make that happen, and what they think it's going to open up for them opportunities-wise in the future.
Yeah, and I'm an international student. I was born and raised in Italy, so I moved here just for college, but my mom's American, so I didn't have to go through the whole bureaucratic process of getting a visa and doing all that. But I still like to think of myself as an international student because
You're an international student.
Yeah, I don't feel very American, even though I am also American. So it was interesting to look at that point of view and see, because we have a lot of international friends, so it was interesting to hear their stories and see how different it was from mine, and kind of research that and get more into that.
So is that what gave you the idea, was okay, this is my story, I want to hear what other stories are?
Yeah, we have a lot of international friends, and we have friends from South America and Africa and Asia and Europe, and everyone had these really interesting parts of their story that was the same, even though they're from such different places. But then there are obviously going to be differences coming from all those different parts of the world. So that's what really gave us the idea, is looking at all those similarities and differences, and what is sort of fundamental to just studying abroad versus what is more specific and different from region to region.
What was the biggest fear, I guess, from each one of your interviewees?
Biggest fear? Some people, it really depends. Some people, no one really questioned if it was worth it. Everyone really was confident that studying the U.S. was going to be good for their future and everything. It was more, there was some stress about visas and stuff because once you obtain your visa to come and study in the U.S., it's not okay, you're good. There's this constant process of them having to keep things up to date and update addresses and request forms and get signatures for even the most basic of things.
It's even the smallest things, just dropping a class. They can't drop a class if they don't talk to their advisor first.
Because they could lose their visa.
Yeah.
It's a lot more complicated than it would seem from the outside. And so a lot of them, it wasn't a constant fear, but it was something that they were very aware of and that they had been taught to be very mindful of.
It must be very stressful for them, not only being in school, but having that pressure of making sure that they're here legally.
Exactly,
Yeah.
That's a huge, that's basically their entire job as an international student, and maintaining their visa status, especially with Northeastern where everyone does co-ops and internships and stuff like that. They have to go through a huge long process just to be able to work in the United States, and even then a lot of times there's restrictions on pay and stuff like that. So
Especially because we do have an Office of Global Services at school, and talking to the dean, he said that they do help, but it's more important than the student has to keep it up by himself.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
They need to be the one.
At the end of the day, it's the student's responsibility, obviously. And so there is a lot more for them to know, and just it's a greater mental load, than your average student, of all these things they have to keep track of and be aware of.
So why did you want to tell their stories? Just to get the word out, or is something attracted to you besides being a part of the group, kind of?
But part of it was mostly, I think, just following our curiosity about it. It was something we didn't really know a lot about, and it's also a lot of our friends that are international students have had some increased fears in the past couple of years about if they're going to be able to maintain visa status and different restrictions and stuff. They actually just added a question to the application form that some people are stressed about. Now they want your social media accounts before they approve you.
Oh.
So it's just a really interesting aspect to it that is It's one of those things that's very invisible to people that don't have to deal with it.
Right.
But it's also very universal to all the international students that go to Northeastern. And Northeastern's the third largest collegiate institution in the country, international student population wise. There's like over 19,000
Wow.
undergraduate international students. So it's a very common thing at Northeastern to have like multiple international students.
What did you guys learn from all of this, just for the documentary itself?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know a lot of this stuff about like visas and all that because I didn't have to personally deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting to look at that because I didn't realize what a hassle it is. What else?
There's a lot of what's really amazing about it is how individual it is. Every country, it's a different process. Every country has different requirements. And at the end of the day, it's just a very instant pass-fail on whether or not you're even going to receive your visa. You can go through the entire process, do all your paperwork, and you can go to the embassy, and then in 5 minutes, the person interviewing you about your visa can just decide yes or no on whether or not you're receiving your visa. And I mean, talking to the staff members in OGS, Office of Global Services, some of the, more fringe, not fringe, some of the more outside cases of what people have to deal with. I think, was it Afghanistan or Iran?
Iran.
Iranian students, no U.S. mail carrier would deliver mail to Iran. So if you're an Iranian student and you want to study at Northeastern, you have to go to a neighboring country to get all of your documents and all your information. It's very complicated, the process.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
We can all learn something from this.
Yeah.
So with your internship here at NewTV, how did this, internship enable you to complete this project? I mean, what did you guys learn here?
I mean, I personally learned a lot because I came in with knowing not a lot, I feel like. Because I'm still learning,
Mm-hmm.
but...
I think we all are.
Yeah. But so I definitely learned a lot of practical stuff and technical, but also more of how to deal with a lot of things. I didn't know how to put together a documentary before coming here, and so that definitely helped.
I already had a good amount of the technical knowledge coming in, but working on the projects that I've been able to here and having the real dedicated time to practice it and do more of it, it's really enabled me to, I feel now that I'm a lot more able to piece together stories and put together cohesive pieces, as opposed to just sort of throwing something together that's oh, look at this thing, and now it's more here's a person, here's their story, here's their it feels I've definitely gotten better in ways that I did not expect in my time working here at NewTV.
So with these newly found skills or enhanced skills, what's next for you guys? You're going to continue on in video production? I know you're going back to class after the break, but what's next?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, it's all very still new, I would say, to me, so I'm still trying to figure that out. That's why I'm going to take a whole year of classes at trying to just focus on what I want to do next. I definitely think I might want to continue. It definitely interests me. So, but I also might want to do something else. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So I'm gonna try and figure it out.
You certainly don't have to decide right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah.
How about for you, Bryce?
I'm a media and screen studies major. That's the closest thing Northeastern has to sort of this type of work. And I'm a film production minor, so it's definitely a field that I'm hoping to go into. Next co-op, I'm hoping to either co-op at the Globe or probably somewhere in New York or Los Angeles. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely NewTV. Working here has definitely given me a lot more confidence in my ability to work in the field moving forward. So I'm excited.
Good. Well, congratulations on this fantastic documentary that I'm sure most people will be excited to see. And once they see it, you'll be amazed at how great it is. And good luck in the future. I hope to see your name somewhere out there, whether it's in lights or wherever it may be.
Thank you.
But good luck to you both.
Thanks.
So you can watch the International Dream on NewTV's education channel and online throughout the summer. So here, take a look at the trailer that they produced and get ready because it's coming to NewTV.
Growing up, you always see America as like a really cool place. It's like this place that's just full of adventure and life.
I was still young, like a young age to leave home completely alone. Like, I had no one here.
There was parts where I didn't know if I was actually going to come here because given where I was born, Venezuela, and I'm a Venezuelan citizen, that complicates things for my visa application process.
Me and my family refused to talk about America as something that's sure until I had my passport with the visa in it. My first semester here was pretty hard. So I would very often wonder oh, did I do the right thing? Maybe I should have just went to friends. That's where all my friends are and stuff.
Reverse culture shock is the moment of realization that you can't ever go home. You might get back to your native culture and realize people have changed, the times have changed, and that you need to do some new adjustments yourself.
This past Sunday, there was a special tribute to the beloved Linda Plout in the Memorial Auditorium at Newton City Hall. The auditorium was filled with family, friends, and the countless people who've had their lives touched by Linda. Linda Plout was devoted to Newton arts and culture, and artists and community members celebrated that devotion with performances and presentations.
People came out. There was a huge crowd. There was nowhere to sit because every chair was filled. It was definitely a labor of love. A whole committee, the Newton Arts Festival, the performers, the community, the family, they all came together and they put together a lovely, lovely tribute. People had tears in their eyes. The performers sang their hearts out.
Linda Plout was one of the most beloved figures in the city of Newton and helped serve the community for over 40 years. She also developed hundreds of programs and events that will be going on for years to come. And although she will be missed, her legacy will most certainly live on. Linda's legacy will be talked about for years to come, and her influence will stay with all of the lives that she's touched, as well as the city of Newton, for not only her development of all the community events, but also for the type of person she was.
Linda Plout was an extraordinary person here in Newton for decades. She made joy and music and art come alive and said yes to everyone who wanted to do something creative here. She was amazing. We miss her. I think she is a permanent legacy. She's touched so many of us, and her grace lives on in us. There's so many artists who will continue to perform here and say yes to whatever needs to get done to bring joy to people here in Newton.
It was the way that she touched so many people, generations and generations, through all her programs, from Time for Partners through Sunday night concerts on the Newton Center Green. She was absolutely everywhere. 4th of July, Harvest Fest, Spring Fest, she was there.
And Linda, we still love you, we remember you, and we hope that your legacy will endure forever.
This event was a beautiful way to pay tribute to a woman who left a lasting impact on so many people. Ryan Caveney, Newton News, Newton Center. On Monday evening at the American Legion Post 440, there was an unveiling of a special new monument dedicated to the brave men and women who have fought the war on terror since 9/11. The people of the Newton 9/11 Memorial Committee originally came up with the idea for this new monument, and together with the Sons of the American Legion, made it happen to create this beautiful new memorial.
We have two very active groups in Newton, led by two ladies who are very strong and very dedicated to doing what's right. Names of Sandy Young and Virginia Gardner. And we worked together to get this. They had the idea, quite frankly, and the concept. Brought us in, we helped shape it a little bit, and we also provided the land for it to be placed on. That's how it came about.
I thought it would be a good idea, and Ginny and I discussed it, and we thought it would be a good idea, and we talked to Nick about it, and the three of us formed our own little committee about getting it done. And it's for men and women who've served since 2001. the ones that are still living and the ones that are deceased. It's for both. And we just want to show how much we appreciate all they're doing to keep us safe.
And now this global war on terror that has gone on for almost 20 years, children that never knew about 9/11 are serving in our military and fighting to keep us safe so we can have things like this. We can feel safe gathering here in front of this stone. When I heard taps and saw Mike Mazzola looking at the flag, standing at attention, I thought this is what it's all about, respecting, honoring, and loving our military and our first responders.
It went well. It was short, it was sweet, it was right to the point. The remarks by the two ladies were outstanding. Sandy on the benediction and Virginia with her soliloquy there. So it was good. It was a great team effort, quite frankly. Teaming up with these two ladies is always a positive outcome.
It's important we never forget that awful day in history, and now this new monument will remind all of us of the men and women who have and still are fighting the war on terror. Ryan Caveney, Newton News, no Nantum.
Newton in Motion has launched a new rideshare that is available for seniors 60 and older and replaces the older Nexus ride. Partnering with Via, Numo as it's called, will allow senior residents to grab a ride on demand via phone, computer, or an app to various locations throughout Newton and beyond for activities, medical appointments, or lunch at a very reasonable price.
Either 50 cents, $3, or $5, depending on your particular financial circumstances.
There are currently 4 Numo vehicles available to provide rides, and more may be necessary. But it's just the beginning of promoting an age-friendly community.
So transportation is one of the key vehicles, pun intended, for community engagement. And it's a key domain in the World Health Organization's age-friendly efforts. Keeping people engaged and contributing to their community. Why should somebody have to say no to a friend when they ask them to come to have lunch in Newtonville? Or say, are you available 3 days from now? Why should somebody say no when they want to volunteer at City Hall or in other numerous city departments? Transportation is the key hurdle regardless of what age or what income bracket you fall into. And Newton proudly has taken that step to make that hurdle lower for the older adult population.
But this is just the beginning for Numo. Expansion is possible in the future.
It will be very exciting to see, can we expand this to other age groups? How does the financial model work? How does the transportation model work? As if it can work for seniors, I'm convinced it may be able to work for others as well.
If you'd like to sign up for Numo, contact the Senior Center at 617-796-1660 to verify you're a Newton resident and that you're over 60. Jen Adams, Newton News, Newton Center.
Just reach in, grab a couple. Vicodin, Perks, Oxy. You're bound to grab something good.
Thanks, bro.
Before I forget, I have some paperwork to go over. Don't worry, it's just a formality.
What'd you say?
This one outlines the general side effects. This one talks specifically about how opioids impact the brain. Here's a list of emergency numbers. Poison control hotline is useful, 911, but you probably already know that number.
Wait, what just happened? When did you change into a suit?
Right, absolutely. Eventually, you're going to turn to heroin. You're going to need a few clean needles for that. It'd be a shame if you contracted HIV or even hepatitis. Oh, and this chart's pretty neat. Look here, it shows how much your addiction will cost over time, both on the drugs and eventually rehab. So I'm just going to need your emergency contact right here. Just sign here, initial here, initial here, initial here, and sign here. By the way, do you have a few more minutes? I got a quick PowerPoint I want to show you.
No, not really.
Don't worry, it'll only take a few minutes. Let me just fire up the projector. As your drug dealer, I want to be sure that you're fully informed so you know exactly what it is you're getting into.
Well, that's it for this week's Newton News. I'm Jen Adams. If you missed any of this week's newscast, you can catch it online at newtv.org. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Newton News was brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.